Hey guys, welcome back to Turntable Guy. On the bench today, I have my personal Rega Planar 1. And one of the things about this turntable that I really hate is the fact that I cannot set the anti-skating for this arm. It is preset at the factory by Rega for approximately a 2-gram weight cartridge. So if you install a lighter weight cartridge, something that rides at say 1.5, or if you put something heavier on it, not that you'd probably do that, but you never know. You want to run a Shure M447 on it. That could run upwards of 3 to 4 grams sometimes. Your anti-skating is going to be off, and there is absolutely no way to adjust it other than removing the arm and pulling out the magnet and adjusting it with a record, like a test record. Now, the old Rega RP1 did have manual bias adjustment. It sat under here. There was a little lever where it says RB110 on this arm, and you could adjust it for upwards of 2 grams. Now, Rega stated when they brought out the new Planar 1 in 2016 that they wanted a quote-unquote automatic bias. Whereas the user, they wanted this turntable as easy as possible to set up. Whereas there's not even any printing on the back weight there. You basically brought this turntable home, put the platter on, grabbed the counterweight, screwed it all the way to the end of the base of the arm there, and that achieved the perfect weight, tracking weight, and automatic, well, quote-unquote automatic biasing for the Rega carbon cartridge, which is an Audio-Technica AT3600L. It is identical no matter what it says on the front. So, and then you're set to go. And that's all fine and good. But once you want to get rid of your Rega carbon and run something else, I run a Shure M91ED on this. You need to reset the bias, in other words, the anti-skating. And you can't do that. You have to pull out the arm, play with the magnet, put on a test record. It's very irritating. So what we're going to do here today is we are going to remove the arm on this, and we are going to install a nut and a bolt which will grab that magnet, and you'll be able to reach it from underneath there, either with your fingertips or a screwdriver, and you'll be able to pull that magnet in and out. Okay, that's the whole idea. And yeah, you probably still need a test record, or you can use your ears to see how much anti-skating and bias you have. So let's get started. We're going to safely disassemble this Planar 1 and hopefully make an improvement on it, because this has been one of the biggest disappointments or disappointing purchases that I've ever made. So I like the sound and everything, but I've upgraded just about everything on this table, which is kind of a waste now because I could probably have bought an RP2 or RP3 at this point. So anyway, live and learn, right? So, okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to just gently lift that up. That's another thing with Rega. Their dust covers don't stay up unless they've got full clearance in the back. So you're going to want to remove your platter mat. Here's some of the upgrades I've done. This is a SRM Tech clear acrylic platter. And going a little deeper, this is a Tango spinner sub platter, handmade in Argentina. And they send you a clear silicone belt. I'm thinking we could probably get away with not removing this. That way we don't have to re-oil or worry about oil leaking out. So I'm just going to grab some masking tape. Okay, I got the platter masked down. It shouldn't move. So we get the turntable turned over. Basically, we just want to get the turntable just flipped a little bit, because we need to get at the arm, and because we're going to be flipping it back and forth. That's why I've put this down. So I'm now going to just remove this. And to get the tone arm out, you're going to need to remove these 3 screws on the tone arm. So what we're going to do is remove your stylus, because the Rega does not have a removable head shell, which is a pain in the butt for changing cartridges. I found that a lot of audiophile companies like Rega make excuses for removing features like a removable head shell, or they used to have a removable head shell. They do it, and then they say this is how they justify it. What it is a cost reduction, right? They'll say something like, well, having a straight tone arm with a non-adjustable head shell provides rigidity, and that's better sound quality and all the rest of it. I call bullshit. Having a removable head shell allows you to grab a head shell, to put a cartridge on it outside of the turntable, to align it, easily. If it's, like a Techniques or something, you can just line it up to 52 millimeters, throw it on, and you're good to go. With these guys, you have to mess around with the head shell here and try to get the cartridge on there and mount it underneath, and it's a pain in the butt. So they call it audiophile. I call it a pain in the butt. Okay, so this is a T15 Torx bit. So you're going to have to remove 3 of these. And to get at some of them, you're going to have to move the arm over. And the back one is here. To do that one, it's probably best just to remove this counterweight. And screwdriver in there. And your arm is now loose. There's one more. Now you want to make sure your arm is put back into its holder. Okay. Now you just want to gently turn the table on its side. This goes out of focus. I apologize, because there's one screw underneath here that just holds in the wires. It's right there. And for there, they didn't use a Torx 15. They used just a regular standard. Oh, maybe they did. Sorry. Okay, I'm being an asshole. Let me grab that Torx 15. I was going to say it was a Phillips, but I was wrong. Okay, so there's your wire clip. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of Rega. And it's just, I thought I was buying something a little bit better than what I received. That's what it comes down to. My motor was noisy out of the box. It made a tick, 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 tick sound, of which I was told to run the motor for 24 hours straight, because sometimes they're stored at the factory on their sides or at the distributor on their sides. And the oil in the motor can, move from the bearings, right? And it needs to be spun for that amount of time to get it lubricated again. So anyway, that has gone away. So, all right, so now your plinth is all free, and you can put that aside. And this is the RB110 tone arm. I guess I shouldn't blame the Planar 1 table, but the Planar 1 table is the only table that comes with the RB110. It's a very lightweight tone arm. This is your anti-skate magnet here. You see that okay? It's right there, okay? And as you can see, it moves in and out. It's really simple to remove. Now, I tack that down with just a dab of crazy glue just to keep it in place because it doesn't go anywhere. What you want to do is you want to put a mark on it, because once you get it out, you're going to forget which end goes in, and it matters for polarity's sake. If you put the wrong end in, the bias will be right out of whack. So just get a Sharpie and mark it. Okay, just like that. So my thoughts on this magnet are, let me just grab a pair of pliers here. This magnet needs to go in and out like this. It needs to slide, okay? And what we need to do is we need to attach something to the front of it, and something that's accessible. Let's see how it's very sticky, very magnetic. We want something that's accessible, that's going to be able to be accessible from this part of the turntable, right? So when you're looking at the turntable, you'll be able to see like a screw or something right about here that we can pull in and out. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to mount either a nut or something to this flat point here, and then have that screw come in and be able to pull that magnet in and out. And the other thing is, you don't want it to be super ugly, right? So this is what I'm thinking here. I got a set of just some black bolts like this, and a nut, right? And what I'm thinking is I will maybe put a nut somewhere around here, just to, we'll glue it down or epoxy it or something, and then we'll put the bolt through it and it'll sit out like that, is what I'm thinking. Now lengthwise, see, and once it's attached, you just saw how it pulled out there, right? Once it's attached, this one's probably a little too long, is what I'm thinking. You know, right? And we'll have that set up nicely, and it will pull that magnet in and out. So once there's a nut here, as you screw it out, it'll come out and then it'll go back in. So I don't know if I'm going to use this particular bolt here. I want it to be black if possible. I don't want it to be ugly, and I don't want it to be way too long that it's sticking out like this. So I might have to cut this bolt down a little bit. But now at least you can see what I'm thinking here. The whole process, the whole idea is to get this magnet in and out so we can adjust bias on this RB110. So anyway, I'm going to just look through my my collection of nuts and bolts and see if I can find something a little bit shorter if I have something. If not, I'm gonna cut this one down to the length that I want, and we'll go from there, and I'll be right back. Okay, are we running here? Yes, we are. Oh, this is what I found. So I'm not going to go with this big, super long one and the magnet, and see how the screw sticks to the magnet. Like it's a good solid magnet. Here you go, this one, which is obviously a lot shorter. You're not going to be adjusting this every time you play a record, so it's not super important. Remember, we got our marks here in our magnet. What I'm thinking is, when you shove the magnet back in there, it goes in. We want to put the nut at the point where the magnet can no longer come out, right? So, which is right there. So we want the nut there. And there's our screw. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So that, I think, is perfectly acceptable. I'm just wondering if the head of the screw is a little too big, though. Although, you're not going to get much smaller, right? Yeah, they're all that size, so it's going to be on a little bit of an angle, which is not the end of the world. Unless, of course, we put this nut further out, and then that screw sticks out even further. Now, I'm going to go with my first idea, which is to put the nut at the point where this magnet cannot come out any further, which is right there. So I'm going to attach this, and I shall return. little update. I've got the nut mounted. It's right there, so it's at a point where the magnet can't be pulled out of its little slot there, right? So the nut will keep the magnet from coming out. So one thing you have to remember to do is make sure you put the magnet in first before you glue your nut in. So all I've used is a little bit of epoxy, and we're just going to let that set up. And you can actually see it's actually already set up, the 5-minute epoxy, but when you put the bolt in, I'm just going to use a long one for demonstration purposes here. Probably shouldn't be doing this because it's not 100% cured, but if you can just, hopefully you can see that going in on that angle there. So as it goes in, it's going to immediately attach itself to that magnet. Boom. And it's going to start, well, it was pulling the magnet out, a little bastard. There it goes. Yeah, it's pulling that magnet out now. All the way. And it's going to keep pulling it. But it won't pull it out all the way. So that's how you're going to get the bias to set up. And I'll just continue to let this cure. It's coming in at a little bit of an angle. There's no way that the magnet's going to come out this much, just so you know. This is like extreme, so I'm just going to push it back in for now. There. And we'll just pull this out, and we'll let it continue to set up. It's very, very magnetic, right? So let it set up, and we're going to get this bolt cut down to where I want it, and probably somewhere where I can reach it easily, that it's not sticking out all the way here like that long one is, and still be, you know, semi-aesthetically pleasing from the front, and yet practical and solve our issue. So I shall return. All right, our glue has set up nicely, and I've got that bolt in, and this is really working out great. I love the way it looks. It's not very obvious as to what it is. There it is there. And it's on just a slight bit of an angle because the head of the bolt is a little bit taller than the nut. So as you start going in, it just rubs a little bit on the base of the arm here. So it keeps it nice and tight. So there's no issues with it loosening up at all. And it's holding on to the magnet just perfect, right? So that's it. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to get this arm back into the turntable, and then I'll get my test record out, and we'll adjust this on the test record and see what kind of anti-skating adjustment we have now. I'm using the I think it's Sound and Vision test record for anti-skating. So anyway, really happy with this so far. I'm going to get this all back together, and I'll be right back. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to come across on video, but we've got our audio system test record on the platter spinning, and I'm going to be just checking what kind of bias setting we're getting. The arm has been balanced with a digital scale I have here. You can't do it any other way because there's no markings on that counterweight. So it's set for 1.5 grams of tracking force, which is the upper end of what the Shure M91ED runs at. So I'm going to run it at 1.5. And so I'm going to go through these different tracks here. And what they're going to do is there's going to be some distortion. You're going to hear basically like a sine wave, but it's a test tone. But within that test tone, as the tracking gets more and more difficult, you're going to start to hear this kind of scratchy distortion in either the left or the right channel. Now, you probably won't be able to hear that based on where the camera's mounted, but I will, sitting here in between the two speakers, and I'm going to adjust the tracking, the anti-skating screw here until I get even distortion. Okay, so if it's a little bit heavy on the left channel, we're gonna, let's see, left channel is on the left side, so you have too much bias. And the right, you have too little. So I'm going to be playing with that, and let's give this a go, see how it works. That's just pink noise. Okay, here we go. So at this lower level, there's no distortion. So we'll go to the second track. Okay, now I'm getting distortion in the left channel. It's getting better.
Level 3.
It's good and balanced now. I can feel the magnetic pull on the arm. I'm really happy with that. I'm getting very even distortion in between the two channels. It pretty much set up nicely just on the second one there. So bias is set. The screw is well underneath. Can't see it. It is attached to the magnet, so it is holding onto the magnet. It's holding it nicely, and I've got my bias set for 1.5 grams of tracking weight. So this has been a success. If you want to try this, by all means, post a video. I would love to see your ideas. I have been searching through the internet, and reading about people's problems with this issue. And I found this one. It was on a Google Images that this guy had shown that he put a screw and a nut, and he's pulling the magnet in and out. And his method was a little crude, so I thought, I'll try it too. I'll use a black screw, and don't need to go overboard. Just a nut will do, and away we go. So if you have a Rega RP1 or so I shouldn't say RP1, a planar one with the RB110 tone arm, or a planar 2 with, I think, the 220 tone arm, the first edition of the 220 tone arm, then this is one way that you can set up manual adjustment for bias on these turntables, so that you can adjust the anti-skate for where you want it and not where Rega tells you it has to be. So anyway, once again, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative. I would love to see if you guys have done anything for your tone arms, or if you're just sticking with the quote unquote automatic bias system from Rega. Let me know in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.